One is for all the young men struggling out there. Hopefully, some of the older dudes can understand. It took me a minute to get this one down because it's a kind of a controversial topic, and it's that disconnect between what young men choose to do these days, and they're told to touch grass and do things the old way, and you know, growing up was just so different. Do you guys remember when we thought the future would be flying cars and robot butlers and shit? Because instead, we got young men building digital harems and spending 8 hours a day clicking on cartoon monsters for dopamine hits. It's funny how that one worked out, huh? No Jetsons. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about why so many young guys are checking out of reality. And most of us have probably seen it actually. Hell, we probably know at least 5 dudes each right now who live like this. They wake up, mindlessly scroll, play games till 3 a.m., jack off to increasingly weirder shit, sleep, repeat. They live life in digital worlds where they're powerful warlords, irresistible to women, or whatever the hell those anime protagonists are supposed to be. And meanwhile, their real world experience is forgotten like a gym membership that they bought in January. But why? And why now? And why this generation is a lot of things that men are asking themselves. And the simple answer, reality fucking sucks for them. The long answer, the real world has become an increasingly raw deal for these young guys. And pixels don't judge, they don't reject, or demand anything from them except their attention. And attention is the one thing they've got plenty of. Think about what we're asking these guys to do for a second here, right? It's a complete an education that's actively hostile to their learning style, fight for jobs in an economy that's about as stable as a Jenga tower in an earthquake, and then you want them to navigate the dating markets that treat average men like they're invisible, or work jobs that provide zero sense of meaning or dignity, all while they're being told their natural masculine traits are toxic and somehow problematic in society.
Exactly.
Fun times, yeah? And the actual world has become a gauntlet of constant judgment, rejection, and impossible standards. And we feel that all of us in dating. So they'll retreat to places where the rules are clear, the rewards are guaranteed, and they can feel like they matter. Wouldn't you in this situation? Video games give them what real life doesn't. Measurable progress, clear goals, consistent rules, and the feeling of accomplishment. That's the most important one. You get to kill the dragon, then you get to loot. You'll complete a mission, you level up. There's no bullshit office politics, no moving goalposts, no manager taking credit for your work while criticizing your attitude. Just straightforward cause and effect. Do the good thing, get the reward. Basic human psychology that the real world seems determined to deny them. And porn, don't get me started on that. Dude, I go for hours on those episodes. When a swipe on Tinder feels like applying for a job application you're not qualified for, why wouldn't they turn to the endless buffet of women who never reject them, who never find them too short, too poor, too awkward,
everybody
too
on
anything?
Tinder is
It's
fake
a fucked up substitute for intimacy, sure, but it's actually reliable for them. And reliability is in short supply these days. Then there's the anime and fantasy content. There's entire worlds of good and evil, and they're clearly defined, where effort's rewarded, where the underdog can become the hero through like determination and friendship or whatever. Contrast that with our world where the hedge fund managers make billions while teachers use GoFundMe to buy school supplies. The escapism starts to make a lot more sense, doesn't it? Think about that one. If you're a young guy today, imagine yourself, for the older dudes, how you would try to navigate things and start over. And social media promised connection, but it delivered isolation wrapped in a comparison contest. Who can blame these guys for choosing controlled environments over the psychological minefield? At least in Call of Duty, the person you're shooting is honest about their intentions.
This is exactly
Look at the
how
economic
it's going
reality
on,
that they're facing as well. Their parents bought houses on a single income from jobs that didn't require advanced degrees. Now, these guys need 6 figures of student debt for a shot at a job that might let them afford a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates. Maybe. If they eat ramen 4 nights a week and never go to a doctor. That's insane. And the traditional paths to male dignity and respect have been systematically dismantled. We know we live in a gynocracy. The factory jobs got shipped overseas, skilled trades are dismissed as inferior to college, breadwinner status increasingly impossible to achieve, religious institutions declined, communities fragmented, extended families scattered, and women are only after status. So even if you have a blue-collar job and you're making good money, it's not good enough. So what's left? What anchors these guys to reality? For many, it's absolutely fucking nothing. That's the brutal truth. Then we act surprised when they retreat to digital worlds. Really? We're shocked that they choose places where they can be heroes instead of potential predators? Where they can feel powerful instead of powerless? Where rewards are consumed with effort? This system is functioning exactly as designed. We create a world that's increasingly hostile to average men, then provide increasingly sophisticated digital alternatives that cater directly to their psychological needs. And now we're concerned about the results? That's like putting a steak in front of a hungry dog and then being shocked when he eats it. Oh, but wait, guys, it gets even better. When these guys do check out, society doesn't respond with understanding or solutions. Instead, they're labeled as losers, man-children, or basement dwellers. The message is clear. The game is rigged against you, but you're a pathetic failure if you stop playing. Nice setup we got there to get these guys getting out of the basement. And it's not nihilism driving this. It's rational economic behavior when you think about it. Why invest tremendous effort into real-world achievement when the payoff is so uncertain and the barriers to entry keep rising? Video games and other digital landscapes provide better return on investment for their time and energy. Predictable dopamine hits for predictable actions. There's no surprise here. And streaming platforms and content algorithms have perfected the art of keeping a human's attention. They're engineered by literal geniuses to exploit every psychological vulnerability a guy could have. And comparing them to substances like alcohol is missing the point. This isn't just chemical addiction. It's fulfilling fundamental human needs that society is failing to meet dramatically. The need to feel confident, to feel value, to have clear goals and achievable challenges, to belong to a community with shared values, to escape the crushing anxiety about an increasingly uncertain future. Hello, collapsing birth rate. What do you think is causing all that? Everything I just listed. And for millions of young men, digital worlds provide everything. All of what I have just said from the above. The real world provides almost none of it. Practically none of it for a young guy. Why would they choose reality? Seriously, give me one good reason that doesn't involve shaming them or appealing to what the world screams in their face, like those outdated notions of traditional masculinity. I'll wait, because that's what they're being told every day. But surely these guys understand they need human connection, right? That digital worlds aren't real, yeah? That porn isn't real intimacy. No fucking shit, they know. Duh, they're not stupid. Older guys like us can't relate because we didn't grow up in the age of social media and widespread man-hating, coupled with low economic opportunities. That is the triple-headed dragon right there. I had to imagine myself young again, trying to navigate this shit show for this very episode. Maybe my Eastern European upbringing was a huge plus. Otherwise, I'd be a broccoli head licking my lips on camera, doing dances with the boys on TikTok, and blowing each other while voting for Kamala. Just kidding. But no, maybe that might have been what would have happened, depending on the school I went to in California. These young guys are just making rational choices based on available options. When real connection comes with enormous risk and minimal reward, artificial connection starts looking pretty good. Perfect, even controllable, safe. In this environment, we could get falsely accused of something. And the digital alternatives aren't getting worse either, guys. They're getting better, more immersive, more personalized, more compelling. Remember when video games used to be 8-bit characters jumping on mushrooms and shit? Now they live in photorealistic worlds with complex narratives and emotional depth. VR is getting scarily good. AI companions are improving exponentially. The gap between real and virtual experiences is closing fast. The next 10 years are going to be insane. And what happens in those 5-10 years that are coming down the pipeline when digital alternatives do become indistinguishable from reality? Except for one key difference. They're designed to fulfill rather than frustrate. Game over. Think about dating from their perspective for a minute. Apps have transformed human connection into a marketplace where men are judged instantly on superficial traits. Too short, swipe left. Wrong job, swipe left. Not in the top 10% of looks, swipe left. Invisible. Why participate in a market that treats you as worthless? Meanwhile, society keeps feeding them contradictory messages that would give anyone whiplash. Be vulnerable, but don't burden women with your feelings. Be confident, but never make women uncomfortable. Be successful, but don't expect recognition for your achievements. Oh yeah, be masculine too, but don't be toxic.
This is so true.
With the definition of toxic constantly changing every other fucking day. And then be sexually confident, but acknowledge that your sexuality is inherently predatory. What the fuck? That shit's clear as mud, yeah? Makes perfect sense to anybody. So then what do these young guys do with very little life experience? They'll retreat to spaces with consistent rules. The digital worlds where effort leads to reward, to communities of other guys facing the same challenges they could connect to these fantasy worlds where the protagonists have clear paths to follow. Purpose. And we call that pathological? That's fucking wild. And look at how we talk about their hobbies compared to women's leisure activities. This is the double standard here. Women binge Netflix for an entire weekend. That's called self-care. Men play video games for the same amount of time. That's addiction. Women read romance novels. That's a harmless escape. Men watch porn. That's a disgusting habit. Women obsess over social media influencers. That's community. Men follow Twitch streamers. That's parasocial delusion. And I'm guilty of a bunch of these as well. That's how I used to label these guys. But I come from a place of knowing what awaits you if you don't self-improve for yourself, not for a woman and not for society, because the world won't come to save you. And life for a man is brutal. Now back to these double standards. They're obvious, so much so that it's almost funny. Almost. But here's what nobody wants to admit. These digital escapes aren't just mindless distractions. They're serving essential psychological functions for these young men. They're meeting the needs that our society systematically failed to address. For many guys, their gaming clan is the only place they receive positive reinforcement. Their Discord server is the only community where they feel valued. And their favorite streamers are the only adults who seem to understand their struggles. Their anime heroes are the only examples in their lives of somebody that has purpose-driven masculinity that they could emulate. Is it healthy? No, it's not. Is it sustainable? Probably not either. But stopping one form of escape without addressing the underlying issues will just lead to another escape. Maybe a worse one, like drugs. And we have these conversations in the private community all the time. Guys are saying, this is the only place in years that I've ever been able to have an open discussion about what I'm going through and what I'm thinking. Wild how disconnected we really are without being judged. And ask yourself, what's waiting for these guys in the real world? If they do log off, what compelling vision of masculine purpose are we offering them in society? What sense of belonging and value? What clear path to dignity and respect? Fucking crickets is what? So they stay in these digital worlds building virtual empires while their real lives stagnate. And instead of seeing it as a symptom of profound social dysfunction, we frame it as a moral failing of individuals. That's a classic, isn't it? And the bitter irony is, many of these games and virtual worlds are designed around traditionally masculine virtues: courage, perseverance, protection, building, exploring, risk-taking. The very traits that mainstream society increasingly pathologizes are celebrated in these virtual spaces. Of course, guys gravitate towards them. But what about the physical toll? The social skills atrophy? The delayed development? Valid concerns, of course. These guys are very well aware of this. And 100%, that shit isn't free. There's a cost to everything. But you know what else has a cost? Grinding away at a meaningless job that barely covers rent, or navigating social spaces where you're viewed with automatic suspicion, trying to date in a marketplace that deems most men invisible or interchangeable, or existential dread about climate change, economic instability, political chaos, whatever the next flavor of the month bullshit that they're spewing on TV or on the mainstream news. Just a mess with your head. Pick your poison, man. At least digital worlds are designed to be enjoyable. The really dark part is how the system exploits them even as they try to escape it. The microtransactions, the subscription models, the parasocial relationships monetized to extract maximum revenue, data harvesting, advertising. These guys aren't even allowed to check out without being turned into profit centers. That's so fucked. And notice how no one in power is rushing to address the root causes. Why would they? Disengaged young men aren't organizing labor movements. They're not voting. They're not protesting in the streets. They're pacified, contained. From a social control perspective, they're the perfect man to have.
Perfect. Yep.
But society can't function long-term with a generation of young men checking out. We need their energy, creativity, and labor. We need them engaged with improving the real world, not escaping it. Because we need them developing actual relationships, families, and communities for the structure of society, for the social fabric.
It's done. It's
the
not going to
path back
improve.
isn't shaming or pathologizing them. It's not telling them to man up while offering nothing in return to man up for. And it's not pushing them into systems designed to exploit their labor while denying their humanity. We're not cogs in a machine. We're not meant to be. Give me some purpose. It's rebuilding society so reality can compete with the digital alternatives. Create education systems that value a man's strength rather than medicating their energy. And give them economic opportunities that reward hard work with actual stability and dignity. Social spaces where they're valued rather than suspected of being oppressors or toxic masculine predators. They need clear paths to meaning, purpose, and respect. Until then, gaming, porn, fantasy worlds, all that shit will continue to be the completely rational choice for millions of these young men. And all the finger wagging, moralism in the world won't change the basic equation. They're not rejecting reality. Reality rejected them first. And that's the message I want to send to all the young guys. I spent a good minute envisioning what my life would be like if I had to start completely over. And in the world that we live in today, I don't think I would have had a quarter of what I do now. And even I'm behind compared to my previous generational peers and my age range. It is not easy to be a man today. You have lost out on a lot of opportunities. We understand what's happening with the world. That is why we try to have these discussions, especially in the private community. Because when you find out just how suppressed a man's ability to make friends, to get mentorships, to get jobs, to be able to speak his mind is, you can never unsee what society has done and how far backward we've gone. Until then, boys, I hope this helped the older guys especially see a little bit more in depth of what the real problem is, because we like to default, including myself. They're just lazy. They're just iPad kids. They have no ambition. And it goes on and on. Until you really try to imagine what it's like to step foot in a college campus that hates your guts. Everybody looks at you like you're a predator and that there's something wrong with you for just being a man. Or the system will punish you severely for acting out as a boy normally would. Have any energy? ADD medicated. Fry his brain. The list goes on and on. And especially in a world where a lot of these young boys are growing up in a family where no father is present in the first place. That's a big one I didn't even touch up on, but we know it's true. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's a bit more of a serious topic.
This is ridiculous, and there is zero improvement. Like, I don't see any out. There is no out for it. It's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse. I myself am affected big time by this. The last community I tried being a part of, I got accused of being toxic. Just because I have values a generation earlier, you know? Generation prior. It's depressing. All you can do is wait for the virtual reality to give you like the full package, you know? Because right now, it's not sustainable. Real life is gonna catch up, and then you're gonna end up homeless, sick, depressed anyways. But until we're at a point where this kind of lifestyle also is contributing to all other society, which is, I don't even know how. Somehow it's gonna have to be integrated because there is no other way. You cannot like put it away, or the only way is to assimilate, integrate, adapt. Everybody is gonna have to. Otherwise, there is no out. I don't see it. And I myself, I would have been playing games now non-stop 24/7, like I did for all these years. But real life has caught up, and I can't be doing it anymore. Time is fleeting. People are dying left and right. I want to spend time with them, and not spend time alone by myself exploring a game. I would still play the game if I have somebody to share it with. This is the reality.